Hey everybody, it's Galmadex, and welcome back to the Aetherdrift Early Access event. Thank you very much to Wizards Coast for providing me with this promotional early access account. And without further ado, let's get into the Pack 1 Pick 1 of the brand new format. We've got a Mythic Rare Oil Deep Gear Hulk. That's probably the pick. This feels like the weakest Gear Hulk in draft because it's a 4 mana 4/4 lifelink ward 1. That's an incredible stat line, but it's really hard to cast at double blue, double black. Its enter effect seems like the most mediocre of them all. You look at your opponent's hand, you may choose a card from it and make them discard it. If you do, they discard the card and then draw a new card. So like it's not even a 2-for-1 technically, because they just immediately redraw for whatever you got rid of. But it's still a really nasty card. It's still very powerful. It's just that the other Gear Hulks are like completely insane. So I'll still start with that Pack 1 Pick 1, but I don't want to be completely married to it, especially because we did already do a blue-black deck in the past, and it would be nice to try to do a different archetype each draft. Anyways, pick 2, we have Kolodin, Triumph Caster. This is a 2-mana 2/3 mounts and vehicles you control have haste. Whenever a mount you control enters, becomes saddled till end of turn. Whenever a vehicle you control enters, becomes an artifact creature till end of turn. That's pretty cute. I wouldn't be surprised if Cloudspire Coordinator's better. This card's been nasty for my opponents. A 2-mana 3/1 scries 2 when it enters, and every time you play a mount or a vehicle, you can tap it and get another pilot token. That's pretty nasty too. I don't think any of the blue or the black cards are super powerful here, so we're probably just taking a Great Boros card. It is awkward to have to take one and then pass another one, but it is what it is. There's nothing really else in this pack that's likely to make the cut in a blue-black deck. I guess we could take like a run over if I want to just ignore Boros and take the best card in the pack, but I'm not going to ignore Boros. I'll take the rare. The rare's a little cooler, a little more unique. Pick 3 now. Ooh, Gastal Thrillseeker is fantastic at starting your engines and getting your speed up. The turn you play it, you start your engines, so you're at speed 1. You get a ping on your opponent, which puts you to speed 2. And then every turn from then on, if you ping your opponent, you go up to speed 3, speed 4. Of course, speed 4 being that maximum speed to get your bonus on all of your max speed cards. So I like that a lot, but we played an excellent Rakdos start your engines max speed deck, so I'm going to ignore it to try to end up in an archetype we might not have played before. There's Migrating Ketrodon, which is incredible to stabilize in any green deck, and you can always cycle it early. There's Ride's End for really good, really efficient removal. There's Sundial, Dawn Tyrant, just a 2-mana 3/3, which is just good stat line up front, plus, of course, an artifact creature, which is a good card type for certain decks. I'll take the Sundial here, I suppose. There was, again, just nothing great for blue and black overall. Pick 4, now an Unswerving Sloth. Maybe we just get to go deep into white here and see if we can't play a white color pair that we have not played in the past. This is a 5-mana 5/5, but its saddle ability is wild. You have to saddle it with 4 power, but if you do that, when it attacks, it gets indestructible and untaps all of your creatures. So it untaps itself, it untaps everything you saddled with it, it untaps everybody else you've attacked with. This card is a really nice saddle ability, so I don't mind taking that here. Getting pretty deep into white. For pick 5, we've got Light Shield Parry's a mediocre little combat trick, and some mediocre little enchantments here. Not super into that. We move towards blue-white with a Skystreak Engineer, or black-white with Mutant Surveyor, or Oil Gorger. I feel like Surveyor's probably the best card. We did do a black-white deck already, though. It went super badly, but I was also trying to do some goofy things that really didn't pan out. So maybe we could do the same deck twice and do another black-white deck, and this time just really, really try to be a streamlined, stronger deck and see how the color pair does. Pick 6, easy Nesting Bot. This card has been very impressive to me. Starting your engines on turn 1 is one of the best ways to get towards max speed cards being actually viable and actually activated, because the earlier you start your engines, the quicker you start upping your speed count by damaging your opponent. You're not raising your speed at all until you play your first start your engines card. So if you have like a 5-drop that has a really good max speed ability that also starts your engines, you can't just reliably be like, oh yeah, well, I'll start my engines and get the damage in and have this at max speed if that's your start your engines card. You want to have the early cards that start your engines, even if their max speed abilities are much weaker, they get the ball rolling and they get your speed working up. So they're still really, really nice and really important, I would say. Pick 7. Lagoran's Soul of Alacria is a really nasty card for the green-white mounts deck, and we're certainly not married to black yet, so we can speculate towards that. There's also the Spire mech cycle towards Boros vehicles and stuff to go with our Colodin. This one's super, super gross. I've had this played against me, and it was disgusting. You get to tap an untapped mount or vehicle you control to just permanently turn this into an artifact creature. You never have to crew it again from that point on. It also gets some buffs. I'll actually go for the mech cycle over the green-white card there and maybe do some Boros Colodin shenanigans if we're lucky. Pick 8. Daring Mechanics pretty filler, but probably fine here. We could also take a Night Market. This will be filler fixing for any deck. We can always cycle it while we're flooding out. Pick 9. Oh, pick 9 Wretched Doll is wild. But again, I'm just that one card deep into black. On 100% creatures right now. Maybe a little card draw spell would be okay. I don't know. It feels pretty filler, so I'd rather be slightly deeper into black as a backup plan. Now a Wicker Folk here. I feel like tap lands are usually so bad. Even if this enters untapped sometimes. Just gets you a 1/1 later. You know what? Blockbuster's kind of interesting. There's a lot of artifacts in the format because there's so many vehicles and stuff, so sacking a creature to blow up an artifact could be genuinely quite good. Javelinier's really good at helping your small creatures get in, but Oil Gorger's a solid card at the top end of a max speed dex curve. Or a start your engines deck, I guess is a better way to put it. All right, well, we're kind of equally deep into both of these colors, but I think our... Never mind. Never mind! I was going to say that I think our Boros cards are stronger, but Gonti is the dumbest. This is... If you remember the old Gonti, the 4-mana 2/3 Death Touch that pulls out one card from your opponent's top 4 and you can cast it against them, this is like 50 Gontis on a stick. Or in a group, in a bundle, I don't know what I'm saying. Every time any one of your creatures deals combat damage to one of your opponents, so even if you hit them with multiple creatures, you trigger it multiple times, you exile their top card, and you can play it against them for as long as it's exiled, with mana Zoe or any color. So it's like, you Gonti every time you hit your opponent with any creature. You don't like the top 4, you just get the top 1, but it's still insane. What is this? Whenever you attack, it deals 1 to each opponent, so you're guaranteed to raise your max speed just off attack triggers. And if you get to the maximum, if you get to 4 or more, your sources are all doing an extra damage. That also seems insane. I feel like it's way safer to just take Bauble here, so I can just be Orzhov, but potential Rakdos here looks powerful off of that rare. So I want to have that option open, because at this point, if I do end up in Orzhov, which is likely because of Gonti, I'm playing an archetype I've already played before either way, so I'll be open to going Rakdos if it's between Orzhov and Rakdos. All right, pick 3. Necro Regent's really good at the top of the curve if you have enough cheap cards that start your engines early so that you kind of have max speed by the time you play this. Again, I would not shove this into any deck. You really need the early game cards working on your speed before you cast this. But I think we've got some of that kind of stuff going on, and it'll be great in our deck. Rakdos or Orzhov. Rakdos generally has a lot of cheap cards that start your engines, and Orzhov, we have our nesting bot there to really help us out, and we can try to draft more cards like that. Pick 4. Maximum Overdrive is a fine combat trick, and we're pretty much definitely playing black at this point because we've got that Gonti, so I'll take that. Pick 5, there's that Ride's End, really efficient white removal spell, especially on the defensive where you do it for only 2 mana. So I like that here. Scrounging Skyray is a really fun, really powerful card for the blue-red cycling deck, so I'm just going to mention that every time I see it because I love that card. We've got a Spin-Outs for solid, efficient removal. We've also got Cloudspire Captain, which might just be a good enough stat line to be better than the removal spell here. With enough mounts and vehicles in the deck, I imagine the removal's better in our deck right now because we have one mount and one vehicle, but there's some decks where Captain would be a higher pick than Spin Out. Kind of sorting out my mana curve here while we're chilling. I do not mind a Javelineer. I guess your mana curve is really important for these start your engine decks as well. But I still think I can take it over Glider. If there was like a really good 2-drop, I might take that over it. Ooh, we finally get to try out the Dune Drifter. So you have to have this card in the right position. You need a good card in your grave, and ideally a good cheap card, but if you can cast this for 4 or 5 mana, picking up something like a Wretched Doll or a Javelineer, it's a pretty good deal. You immediately get the creature that's big enough to crew it. You get 2 cards off of the one spell. Pretty solid at the top of your curve at the 4 to 6 mana slot. Pick 9, Cycling Combat Trick or the Indestructible Combat Trick. I feel like the Indestructible one's just better. Although, you know what? I'm going to play around with Walking Sarcophagus. We want to have our 2 and 3 drop slot super full of creatures for Dune Drifter. And just another way to start our engines early. Feels like a big deal, so I'll get that Sarcophagus. Here's the Wicker Folk to keep raising our speed, pinging in with that flying damage. There was another one of the Flying Sharks that gets bigger every time you cycle a card, so whoever's in blue-red is going to be so happy. And if there's no one in blue-red, then I'm sad. Somebody's got to have a good time today. All right, Cycling Combat Trick last pick. And pack 3, what do we have? We have one of the best 2-mana start your engine cards in this color pair. We will take that. Again, just trying to get to the max speed before we ever draw into a Necro Regent. It's an Ovia here. That's pretty fun. Not really worth the splash, though. Yep, Leonin Surveyor looks like a super simple, super easy pick. I'd like to cut the Skybox Fairy, hopefully, by the end of this draft. Seems like our most filler card. Everything else looks real solid overall. I don't know, maybe I'm underestimating the card. A 4/4 flyer is kind of big. But you do have to crew it. Okay, get past an Orzhov rare that starts our engines for only 2 mana. Don't mind if I do. This is a really good max speed ability. All of your non-token creatures spit out a 2/2 zombie when they die. So this is a great one. We'll definitely take it. Ooh, a 1-mana start your engines card? Sure. Just a 1-mana 2/1 start your engines. That's good already. If you do have max speed, you can sacrifice any of your other creatures or vehicles to draw a card. Yeah, that's not the craziest card in the universe, but again, just getting your engine started turn 1 is good. Gastal Raider is great. If your opponent has an instant or sorcery in hand, you get a 2/1 on board, you make them discard an instant or sorcery, and you might even get a menacing threat later. So I'll take that over the Lotus Guard Disciple, but this card's enter effect has been really brutal. Lifelink and Indestructible till end of turn to your best creature, and just have a 2/2 flyer hanging around. Card's been nasty. Pick 5. I do not mind Risky Shortcut as your card draw spell in these kind of max speed, start your engines oriented decks, because when each player loses 2 life, that's going to raise your speed even if you don't get an attack in that turn. It can be redundant. Like if they don't have a good blocker and you get an attack in, you're not going to raise your speed twice in one turn. You can't do that. But it's still nice to have the flexibility. I suppose it'll probably just end up getting cut because we have so much other good stuff in here, though. Another Dune Drifter? Sure, we'll try out the Double Drifter here. We've got a lot of 2-drops in this deck. If I cut like none of our 1, 2, and 3 mana creatures, just lower a little bit of the top end and a little bit of lands, the Dune Drifter should be really nice to top off the curve. Wow, yeah, I get a 3-drop Lotus Guard Disciple in here. Again, lowering the curve a little bit seems fine. Cut a 5-drop, cut a 5-drop. It's a 15 land deck if I run it like this. We've got some cyclers, pretty low curve. I can cut this shortcut. Probably the side swipe. But I guess this is a 16 land deck now, which is fine for the mana curve. Yeah, we'll take Scoured Barrens. Just go 16 lands, run all this. Pact Doll Terror. What's the artifact count? 7? It's probably not horrible. I mean, it's another one of these cards that because it drains your opponent for life when you play it, it raises your speed even if you don't get an attack in. Double Terror is interesting. Might be better than the Assailant. I don't know. Yeah, Siphon Fuel could be important, though. A removal spell that we don't have to sack something for. Oh, Jesus, another Lotus Guard Disciple? I have to make some decisions here. I might actually cut a 3-drop at this point so I can run the double Disciple. I guess the Mutant Surveyor? Because I have to dump some mana into that for the buff ability. What's so nice about this card is I guess you don't actually have to dump mana into it very often because your opponent will have their 3/3 blocker or whatever ready. You can just attack into that and they're never going to block, because if they block, then you could just put the mana into it and eat their blocker. So just the threat of being able to do that makes this really, really hard to block and makes it kind of like it's a guaranteed way to get your damage in for your max speed. So that is pretty good. But like Javelineer also makes your small creatures bigger to attack through the higher toughness cards. Like if your opponent has a 3 toughness card and all your 2 mana 2 power creatures are walled off, boom, now they're a 3 power creature attacking in. Now you're actually getting in and raising your speed there. The Disciple's a really good way to do it because your opponent is not going to want to just chump block, and now anything is a chump block because you have Indestructible on your attacker. There's so many different really good ways. I guess I'm going to get rid of one Javelineer, actually, over the other stuff, because the Mutant Surveyor is both a card that starts our engines if we manage to miss all of our 1 and 2 mana cards that do it, and a way to keep getting that damage in and raising the speed over time, so I'll run that. I accidentally cut a Dune Drifter. I might just let that happen, because it's pretty expensive. I mean, I guess Light Shield Parry's not great in here, and Sideswipe's not great in here. I have cheap creatures I can sacrifice, but we don't have any tokens to sacrifice or vehicles that are sitting there doing nothing. I've got, like, the one nesting bot to sack, I guess. Yeah, I'm going to cut these two. And then it's actually a reasonable 17 lands deck, considering the really expensive Dune Drifter and the really expensive removal spell in here with Siphon Fuel. Creature count is monumental at 18 creatures. I could cut another creature for another Dune Drifter at the very top of the curve. Again, I don't want to cut any 1s or 2s, probably not any more 3s. So I could like cut the Terror and just play another Dune Drifter. That might be fine. Oops, still on creatures only. Sure, we'll try out the Double Drifter, make sure we actually get some play time with that card. But that is simple enough for me. 14 black cards, 11 white. One more black source than white sources, sure. We'll call it a deck here, hop into the gameplay, and see how it does. All right, here we are on the play for game number 1. We've got the Wicker Folk into Lotus Guard Disciple. That's one of the weaker creatures to curve into the Disciple with, because, I mean, lifelink Indestructible on the 1/3 flyer is barely a thing. I think we keep these. You know what? I wouldn't mind milling a Disciple. You know what? There's also 5 mana removal. I wouldn't mind milling either of these. Let's mill both. We need another white source towards the Sloth. Putting a Disciple in grave guarantees that the Dune Drifter has something to target. This seems fine. Just get those out of the way towards other cards. I mean, it gets us closer to Gauncey. Obviously, we want to do that. So here's Lotus Guard Disciple. Sad trigger, but we still just need to curve out while we can. Playing against blue-black. Oh, hello, Oil Deep Gear Hulk. It's back for revenge because I didn't end up playing it. Oh, they can discard a card, draw a card off of it too. Okay, that's cute. That's cute. I'm super dead to that. I have no removal in my hand. We are not going to outrace a 4/4 lifelink. Yeah. This could have been a 4/4 lifelink with no other text on the whole card. We'd still be losing this game, though. So. What? Okay. All right. That's pretty sick. They let me keep the hand here. Double oil deep gear Hulk it is. That's some flood. Here's a 5/5 to try to block the 4/4s. Our flying blockers don't do anything significant whatsoever, so we might as well send them in. The 1 mana bounce for the Sloth. Rip. 10 damage on board. They go back up to like 25 life. Yeah. Well. The 1 Gear Hulk was bad enough, but this might just be death next turn already. And the game feels like functionally over. It already felt that way after one of them. They don't have a way through the Sloth. That's huge, because the Sloth gets massive, like, vigilant attacks going through here. I do need 1 more power to saddle it, though. So I'll have to go... Oh, nice. I get to hold up maximum overdrive and Dune Drifter back the thing. Okay, we're still in it. We're still in it. X equals 3. Pick up that thing. Get the big lifelink indestructible Sloth swing. I mean, I could saddle as well, but that's not going to change anything at all. Wait, no, it is, because it's going to untap. It'll untap the Sloth. I need to be able to untap the Sloth, so I do need to saddle here. Gets me the vigilant attack with the flyer too. Yep. Sloth is huge here. Actually. What is the crew cost on Dune Drifter? Crew 2. Alright, so I can crew it with a Disciple. Pretty good. Sundial. That's pretty good at crewing. Unswerving Sloth. Actually just the Gear Hulk Destroyer over here. Crew 2, saddle 4. Wait, why did I crew the Dune Drifter? It's not attacking here. Yeah, I could have done that better and attacked the other flyer. That was dumb. And I guess I could attack with Dune Drifter and use the overdrive as a combat trick, but I'd rather have overdrive left over if they find something that's destroy target creature to try to destroy the Sloth. Oh my god, they are just drawing absolutely nothing here. That's so huge. Okay. Sloth is ridiculous. This is exactly what I was talking about with the unswerving Sloth. Really doesn't look like much, but then once you play against it once or twice, like, I've had the Sloth do this to me a few times, and I was like, yeah, okay, I just can't beat that. It is nasty. Feels good to have it on our side of the table today. Pass through. It's a Wretched Doll. Because they have 8 lifelink on the board, it's not like I can get a go wide lethal here, so I'm still just gonna do the kind of solo attack here. Oh, it's not really a solo attack, but I'm not going to attack in with creatures that are just going to trade into Gear Hulks and give my opponent life. Okay, so they are finally going to let one of their Gear Hulks die, which means they gain 8 because they can go for the double block there. I could have Death Touched the Overdrive just to get the other Gear Hulk killed, but my Sloth isn't dying right now anyway. Contract. Alright. Look at their hand to discard a card, draw a card. So this will be the third Oil Dip Gear Hulk, or Oil Deep Gear Hulk, basically. Oh, hold on a second. Gas Guzzler's active here. I can sack Dune Drifter to draw a card. It's instant speed, too. Jesus. Okay, that doesn't help. Could sack my 3/1 to draw a card, but I can Surveil with that thing over time as well. Okay, Raider can take a peek at their hand and know exactly what we're dealing with here. Force them to cast an instant or sorcery right now. Counter unless I pay 4. Alright, well, we pay 4. I guess Overdrive isn't up here, but they obviously don't have removal right now. So, now we don't have the top deck removal as an out. Okay, they can -3/-0 a creature till end of turn here. So just -3/-0 the Sloth. Draw a card, gain 8. Do this then. They don't gain 8 because they don't have any flyers. They just take a little bit of damage instead. Yep. If they want to gain some life, they have to crack in. They're down to 7. Again, we really don't have lethal here because they're essentially at 15 if I'm attacking with all my ground troops. I have to be able to get 15 damage past 4 blockers. Wow, that is filthy here. Yeah, drain me for more life and get 2 flyers. It's a big deal. They aren't at max speed, so they can't mill me out. They just get to start drawing an extra card every turn. Oh, Gonti. Oh, Gonti's such a winner. Whenever a creature deals combat damage to one of my opponents. So, I think it's time to get stupid. 1, 2, 3, 4. Submit. Go. Hands off the table. Whatever happens, happens. Gonti's going insane. Gonti is losing their mind with this combat. Oh no, not the double block on the Menace card. No shot, that's so good for me. Oh, I'm so sorry. That's brutal for opponent. The Death Touch trick because they double blocked the Menace. Oof. Gonti, 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 Gonti. That's a lot of swamps, but we milled them for, if nothing else. I saw this out of the corner of my eye. I was like, is that Gonti Prime Minister? Ooh, Gonti's moving up in the world. Bounce the Sloth, draw a card, but they're down to 1 creature now after that massive swing. Draw a card off the Siphon. Crazy, crazy game. Pretty long one there, but we managed to outgrind double Gear Hulk because that unswerving Sloth is just insanity. And luckily for us, our opponent drew actual factual 0 removal spells all game. So unswerving Sloth, the massive MVP, carries us all the way to victory there, and we are 1-0 heading into game 2. I guess Gonti came in with the alley-oop in the end. So a little bit of assistance for the unswerving Sloth there. All right, here we are on the play for game number 2. Feels great to be on the play with Nesting Bot. That's probably one of the grossest turn 1 plays you can do in this format from what I've seen so far. We'll see how the format shapes up, but I mean, getting your engine started, getting that 1-1 that places itself to start attacking in and raising that speed has been fantastic. Of course, our 2-mana 3/3 turn 2. Solid body for limited. And our opponent is trying to play Mind Stone. Hopefully, they do not have a lot of other support for the mill. Not a lot of good ways to protect themselves here, and we can just outspeed the mill rock. Mono blue still so far. There's Flood the Engine. All right, that definitely slows us down, but we are at max speed this turn. That's tragic. The Dune Drifter here. If the Sundial were in our graveyard, we could Dune Drifter really well, but it's not. I guess I can just play this to crew it for 2, but it's only adding 1 power to our board, right? I crew a 3/3 for 2. Oh my god, they have double monument. Opponent is going deep. I guess we can get them to mill us and then Dune Drifter does something. If they live that long. They're down to 5 now. Mill me 2. Mill me 2. Shoot, I can't reanimate any of those. Cost me 7 mana to pick up this Unswerving Sloth. Much as I love the card, I can't afford it yet. I can pick up anything that costs 4 or less next turn. And it's just too much. We had a really aggressive start. They had a really slow, grindy, mill victory-oriented hand. And that is a quick maximum speed victory for us. We are 2-0 heading into game 3. All right, I will keep this hand. We're on the play with no creature till turn 3. That's a little awkward, but our turn 3 creature is an evasive threat. It's a flyer. And our turn 4 plays Gonti. So if we can get that unblocked damage in for the Gonti, that'll be fantastic. And I'll keep the land and the removal spell, because we need the land to cast the removal. It's fine pickup for us. Opponent does the 2-mana mill 4, pick up a card. And now if they play around with their graveyard anymore, they keep gaining life. So picked up a land. They're Golgari over there. Looks like mono green so far for their mana base, so they really need to hit another swamp. If they have any of the reanimation spells, that's going to be filthy. They milled a Brood Wagon here, so they can reanimate that for 4 or 5 mana, depending on which reanimation spell they have. Blow up our best permanents, like a Gonti, so we got to really hope that doesn't happen. But I'm slamming out in Gonti while they're tapped out this turn, so we can get the double trigger immediately off of these 2 flyers. We drew really luckily. We hit a 2-drop that's also a flying threat. It's just actually perfect here to get us started. So get the double Gonti trigger. Cha-ching. Forest. All right. I mean, Gonti has really moved up in the world. Very rich there. They are an absolute landlord today. But that's fine. Yep, cycle the Archfiend, so that is going to be a really big way for them to stabilize here. If they can reanimate the Archfiend and blow up multiple creatures. I guess it blows up everything with 2 or less toughness, so it actually won't blow up everybody. Gonti, wow. I didn't know Gonti was investing in so much real estate. I've drawn 5 extra cards here, and I feel like I've drawn 1. Indestructible Gonti? Cool. Indestructible Gonti is indestructible. 1 mana 5/4, really nice. Because they milled a bunch of artifacts and creatures. Another Insight, that's cool. They're going to gain 1,000,000 here off of whatever they pick up. They pick up the Ooze Patrol. Oh, why did I think this was 2 mana? It's 4 mana, okay. Still really nice. Okay. I need that Gravestalker out of the way. I guess I don't. I can just attack with the flyers alone. So I have all my mana up for whatever they hit for Gonti. Please hit a spell. I mean, you can't make it up. It is what it is. Play the Gravestalker, get the treasure. We hit 6 lands and 1 spell off of Gonti. And they're getting milled every time at least. There they go. Goodbye, Gonti. Goodbye. You did your best. Nesting bot. Nesting bot, hold up a removal spell is fine. The flyers start working on our speed here, which is nice. I'll trade into a Gravestalker. I did not realize this Gonti is horrifically busted. It's not even a mythic. This is only a rare. This is going to be the biggest grown test of the format, because this Gonti is so busted. Even if the Gonti dies, you still get to play those cards for the rest of the game. I mean, the original Gonti did that as well, but the original Gonti didn't draw like 6 cards a game, potentially. Okay, there's the Archfiend. That's a problem. That kills my Disciple and my bot, but I can't do anything about it. Yep. I mean, I can Siphon the Archfiend, but that doesn't save all my creatures that just died. No blocks. Siphon the Archfiend to save our exile removal for the patrol. That's going to be way bigger. Cycle this Night Markets. Well, if nothing else, our reanimation vehicle is going to be insane as a draw at this point. Just reanimate a Gonti, we've got way more than enough mana. They're down to 5 cards in deck here. They've got a 12/12 ooze that I have to Ride's End. Whoo! They're unironically outracing us right now. Come on. Find the Fortitude. Which is actually a 6/4 because it's exhaustibility. It is wild that we might actually lose this game. Probably won't. They've only got 4 cards left. I can chump and draw a card here. Be at 7. They're going to be at 4. But there's a distinct chance we lose this game. And this game, I mean, when you Gonti your opponent like 7 times, it should be like completely unlosable. But like, I think it was like 5 lands, 1 spell, or 6 lands, 1 spell. Let's see. Okay, Sundial's a chump blocker. They've got 3 cards left in deck, so every chump blocker matters a lot. Another Gravestalker. I'm gonna need multiple chump blockers. I've now played all the Gonti cards I got from them. Jesus Christ, the crackback is for 11 if they just attack all 3. Oh my god, I don't think I can attack here. I mean, they mill out faster than I kill them with Wicker Folk anyway. Okay, they're just going to scoop them up. Fair enough, but they didn't realize they actually still stood a chance. I might have drawn 2 more lands at this rate. That was insane. I'm surprised our opponent stuck around, but that was one of those games. I mean, it was a good thing they did, because, I mean, we still very much could have lost that game with the hits that we had, but Gonti's still completely filthy, and we are 3-0 heading into game 4. And this will be the final game of this. And this will be the final game of this draft. We're at the 53-minute mark on this recording. Again, editing out some downtime and stuff. It'll probably be a little bit under an hour for you all. But I still got one final draft to record after this one, so. I mean, I would love to go the full 7 games with this, but I just do not have the time. It's already past my bedtime, but the things you do for YouTube. All right, here we are for game 4 on the play with Gas Guzzler into the Wicker Folk for a flying card to help up our speed throughout the game. And of course, the engines getting started on turn 1 on the play is disgusting. If they don't have a 1-drop creature, which even the decks that do aren't particularly likely to have it in the opener, we're immediately going to be on speed 2, and then we have a flyer on the board to get to speed 3. This is a filthy start here. And of course, it ends the curve with Gonti at 4 mana. We make it there. Which the Wicker Folk helps us get there with the Surveil too. Wicker Folk has just been a very impressive card, a huge overperformer. Because of it's just a cheap creature with flying to jump over your opponent's board and keep upping your speed. And setting up the draws with the Surveil 2 to hit the lands when you need them has been great. Wicker Folk's been very nice. 3/3 reach! Aye. Alright, well, here's Mutant Surveyor, which is also really good at getting the damage in. Because we threaten to just activate its ability if they don't, or if they do block it. Please attack. Please attack. No. If I play Gonti, they go eat that chump. That feels bad. We just attack with Surveyor. I don't even think I'm supposed to main phase 2 Gonti, because then they've got a whole turn cycle to kill them. No, they're stuck on 2 mana. They're stuck on 2 mana. We played a Gonti. They need like that 1 mana sack an artifact, destroy a creature card exactly. Or Gonti should stick around here. And I have no other plays. We haven't had any white sources this game. This was still definitely a keep, though. I mean, it had the curve out off of just mono black alone, as you can see. The opening hand had Guzzler, Wicker Folk, Surveyor, Gonti. Uh-oh, they hit land 3. Okay, force me to sack a creature here. I think we sack Wicker Folk, considering their 3/3 reach. Necro Regent is super legit here. Okay, they have to block Surveyor here, but they don't have good blocks for Surveyor, so this plays really well for us. I mean, if they block, we eat a creature for free. If they don't block, we don't spend any mana, so we could cast anything we exile out of their deck with Gonti. Sick. And I'm at max speed for the Necro Regent, and we hit a Javelineer out of their deck. Looks good. That gives us the treasure to guarantee the next. I keep forgetting, Gonti gives you treasure when you cast the spells? Why? Why? Gonti's already way more than good enough. I don't understand. This card is going to be an absolute stain on this format. I am certain. This has got to be top 3 most busted cards in the set, if not the most busted card. It feels like one of the most busted limited cards of all time. Sloth is cool, but I'd rather just Regent, and I don't have double white anyway. So, boom, boom. They can make a 2/2 and a 3/3 here. So we make sure everybody has at least 3 power on this attack. Okay, make the 2/2 and the 3/3. Scurryfoot, another card that's been a big overperformer. Card looks like it'll be one of the better cards, better commons in the format. Double block the Surveyor so that I can't make it too big. So let's kill the Reach creature here then, and then play the Necro Regent in the end step. Good blocks from opponent. We get the Surveil here, find a Scoured Barrens. I should take that. Gonti very well could die soon, and we will not be guaranteed to get any more treasure at that rate. Now we have 2 threats on the board that really need to be killed. Gonti and the Necro Regent. There's Wickerfolk Indomitable, which does not kill either of them. I cannot get any Gonti card draw here because they just block that, and then they can recast it, sacking Bauble. Then Gonti obviously is not attacking here, so we draw the card off Surveyor instead. Find a Gastel Raider. That'll be nice. Let's just get another Zambi. Thank you, Necro Regent. Very cool. Quag Feast to blow up the Necro Regent. Alright, time to play some flying threats for our Gonti. Actually, the Siphon Fuel on the 4/3 is going to be good here. Attack all, get Gonti triggers. Unless they have a combat trick up here to blow up Gonti. They've got something for double green. Oh, they could just sack this to gain life equal to their speed. Yeah, I'm gonna just go in here. Yeah. It's just the momentum breaker. Come on, land. Thank you. Really cool land. My lands are not as fancy. That's a Tiny Bones Swamp. Chitin Gravestalker, the big old 5/4. There's the Mutant Surveyor as well. Just loading up the blockers there. I've got 6 mana, so now I can play a flyer and a creature here. Let's go for the Raider and see what's in their hand. Get rid of a risky shortcut, I guess. So I can get a gain 2. But I can't get anything good done here. Even if I target Gonti, I just bounce off the Gravestalker, gain 3. So I'll just hold up the Gonti on blocks, holding off the 3/3. Another Gravestalker, 1 mana 5/4, pretty sick. This card's played really well in all the Golgari decks I've seen it in. Super cool card. Wickerfolk Indomitable, sacking the Grim Bauble. Now we just get all our flying Gonti triggers in here and slowly win off of all the flyers. I say slowly, but our opponent's at 8, so it's only going to take a couple turns here. We put them to 6, play at least 2 more flying power next turn, maybe more than that. I've got 5 damage in the sky now. Next turn. They just hit a land here. They've got a very cool, very fun rare. They can recast any creature from their grave by embalming it. So they spend its mana value to exile it and get a token copy of it. So yeah, boom, reach creature. That does matter. But we've got the 3/4 flying vigilance now. Oh yeah, it's a 4/4 because it's a zombie. Embalms as a zombie. Yeah, that's super relevant, actually. Okay, that's pretty cool. Well, then. Gonna have to attack with both flyers to get a Gonti trigger here, which means letting Disciple die and putting them to 3. Swamp there. Unswerving Sloth should be insane, right? They're at 3 life, no lifelink. 6 blockers. Block 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Take 2 damage. Not quite lethal yet. I guess they have to double block this. So if they can't double block that, they can go block 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Take the 3 because this has menace. They're exactly dead on board, but they have the wrappings to get another blocker, so that's not going to happen here. Yeah, it's a lot more blockers that they can embalm the Scurry Foot. Yeah, that's huge. They are at essentially 1 life, though, with only that one. That's so gross. Okay, well now attacks are just golden, right? Because anybody dying just gives me a 2/2 anyway. I feel like they have a good block lined up literally everywhere, though. Like chomp, yes. Eat that, take 2. They can double block this without losing a creature, block this without losing a creature, block this, I have to dump mana into it. I guess Surveyor's still okay, because I can buff it twice to be 4 power. It'd be a 4/5 here. Yeah, and any trades are good because of Zahur. Yeah, it's just these, actually. This is the one that's dying without killing anything. We'll scry with it. Ditch that, because I would just spend the 3 to cycle it if I draw it anyway. Another Zambi, get a Gonti trigger. Find Engine Rat. Oh no, that can drain my opponent for 2 life if it sticks around. And thanks to Zahur, I have a wider board anyway. Props to my opponent for playing this out this long. The Curse Cloth Wrappings was doing its best effort here. Oops, I should have scried one there. But yeah, the Curse Cloth Wrappings was really doing its best to stabilize against the Gonti. They've played really well here, but Gonti is just too absurd, I think. Yeah, because that's just a 3/2 now. Yeah, we have well more than enough creatures to just attack all at this point. They have 7 blockers. We have like 10 attackers. So that is game. That'll be 4-0 this draft. Filthy work from Gonti. I have said it before and I will say it again to top off this draft. Gonti has just been completely absurd. It's got to be just an S+ tier, one of the best rares ever printed, honestly. That card is going to be disgusting and infuriating. when you're in like an arena open or an arena direct and your opponent just slams the turn 4 Gonti when they went 2 mana flyer, 3 mana flyer, right? Like Wicker Folk into Disciple. It's like, well, this game is over. Yeah. Biggest overperformer goes to Gonti, and I already thought that card was completely absurd. This thing has been broken in half. The Unswerving Sloth was consistently great as well. Necro Regent was really good, but again, our deck is really well built to try to have maximum speed before we cast the Necro Regent. That is a really, really important part. What made our Necro Regent so powerful was the fact that we have some 1 mana cards that start our engines, some 2 mana cards that start our engines, and so on from there to get that speed really going. Yeah, Nesting Bot was great. Gas Guzzler was great. Pretty much everything that we drafted ended up being kind of an overperformer. I really enjoyed this deck. This was infinitely better than our first black-white deck, obviously. We were not trying to do any goofy, stupid build-arounds. This time we were building around incredibly powerful S-tier bomb rares and just the start your engines max speed mechanic in general, playing a really streamlined, aggressive deck with a bunch of removal. Just your average draft deck here, so super, super fun time with this one, but we've got another one to record, one final draft to record, so that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it and you're interested in seeing some more like it, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.